She used to work in a diner, never saw a woman look finer. I used to order just to watch her float across the floor. She grew up in a small town, never put her roots down. Daddy always kept 'em moving, she did too. Somewhere on a desert highway, she rides a Harley Davidson, her long blonde hair flying in the wind. She's been running half her life, the chrome and steel she rides, colliding with the very air she breathes. The air she breathes. You know it ain't easy. You got to hold on. She was an unknown legend in her time. Now she's dressing two kids, looking for a magic kiss. She gets a faraway look in her eyes. Somewhere on a desert highway, she rides a Harley Davidson, her long blonde hair flying in the wind. She's been running half her life, the chrome and steel she rides, colliding with the very air she breathes. The air she breathes. I made that up just now. You like it? Oh, of course, that's an old Neil Young song, An Unknown Legend. I remember when I was in high school, probably must have been when I was a freshman or sophomore, because I remember the friends I was hanging out with, and I remember hearing that song and really liking it and trying to figure out which album it was on. And I mean, it didn't take me a real long time to figure it out, but it took longer to figure out than it would nowadays, where you just say it into your phone and it pops up. You know, no problem. Press a button, listen to it. Remember going to the record stores, CD stores? Did you ever have cassette tapes? You know, how it's kind of aging as you're aging you, right? But I had cassette tapes. I had some records, but CDs were pretty new. And I remember going to Karma Music with my dad and looking for the Pink Floyd that I don't have yet, and it was like this treasure hunt. What are you going to find? Are they going to have that certain something that you're looking for? Maybe you find something that you didn't know that you wanted. It's like, oh, this band has a cool cover on it. I'm probably going to like the way it sounds. So let's look at this song. Where are we here? It's nice to meet you on the path. I have no idea of what I'm going to be talking about today, but that's a lie. I really don't. No, I do have like a little bit of an idea. Like last time I had an idea, and like as soon as I started, I just went in a completely different direction. Uh, let's look at this song and let's see what we can get out of it. So it's called Unknown Legend. She used to work in a diner. Never saw a woman look finer. I used to order just to watch her float across the floor. You ever been there where maybe there's a woman at Starbucks and you don't even want a coffee, but you go buy the coffee anyway? Maybe there's I used to drive a cab, and I had a regular passenger that I picked up, and I was supposed to be there at, I don't remember what time it was exactly, maybe like 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I don't remember. 9:30. And I got to know this woman, and I've talked about her on the show several times. And I think she was like an angel or a bodhisattva or something like that. And I'm not exaggerating. That's what I mean. But I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. It wasn't until after the last time I saw her that I started wondering if she was some kind of different being, kind of a different kind of being. But during the time I was getting to know her, I was taking her to work. And I remember the first time I picked her up, she was just perfect. And she sat in back of the cab. I just answered the call from, the computer. She called into Yellow Cab, and then I end up getting the call and go pick her up. She sits in the back. I take her to work. A couple weeks later, she calls my phone directly. So she had my number from when I called her to tell her I was there or whatever. And so she called me directly. And she wanted picked up at a certain time to go to work, and it put me real close, and maybe even a bit running late to get to my next one. But I did it anyway. I was almost like no matter what it meant, I would pick her up if she wanted me to. And last time I used to like drink and smoke weed, and I knew that I was like wanting to quit, but not like really, but kind of yes and no and yes and no. You know how we battle ourselves with what we like to do and what we think we shouldn't like to do or don't like to do and do anyway, and all those kinds of nuances of the internal struggle. But so I was picking her up pretty much like 5 days a week. I think a lot of times it was to and from work. And I knew she didn't drink, and we'd always just talk about spiritual stuff. She seemed to know everything, but in a real cool way. She wasn't preachy. She never told me I should quit drinking. I don't even know if I ever mentioned that I drank, or maybe I did a little bit or something. Didn't ever mention smoking weed or nothing like that. But I was also reading a lot about Qigong. I had been for, since I was pretty young, I guess, but I was reading about this Qigong master, and his master told him, if you want to get to the highest level that you can, you have to quit drinking, period. He said, you're already a Qigong master. You can keep going like this, or you can quit drinking and you can get to what's next. So I'm reading all this kinds of different stuff, and I felt guilty about spending money on alcohol or weed. And then I remember I went home from driving this day. It was July 3rd of 7 years ago. So I'm going to have my last. I had like a half a joint left and like one beer left. And I was like, I'm going to finish that up and that's going to be it. And so I went home and had my last little bit of smoke, and I don't even think I didn't even finish the beer, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I knocked the beer over, and it smelled like a million rotten beers. It was so exaggerated and so just nasty. I mean, it was just like a million times exaggerated, like how disgusting it was. And I hadn't drank since, and I haven't smoked since. And that was the last day that I ever saw her. She never called me again. And like I couldn't eat. I think it was like for 5 days or something like that. I didn't eat anything, and I was drinking. Like my internal energy started going crazy. I was just like, normally I'm a pretty calm guy. I may not say a lot. It's kind of like weird. I'm doing, a podcast now, and I'll speak for an hour or so by myself to the world. But normally I could be around a bunch of people and not say hardly anything. But my internal energy, I felt like a Kundalini rising sort of thing. But I went from this like mellow to like super chatty. I was just like, people would get in the car. I was like, blah, 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 blah. I was just like talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And it was just going crazy. And I was drinking a bunch of kefir. At the time I was vegetarian. I switched to vegan like just really shortly after that. I was like vegan before and then vegetarian. I went back and forth between vegan and vegetarian since I was 15 years old. And then I remember like on the 6th day, I took my son to a movie and I ate like 4 pieces of popcorn or something like that. And then shortly after that, I started to like get more like grounded, and I got to where I could eat. And I was like trying to put this whole crazy experience together. Like, what happened? What was that? Who was she? It's still a mystery. I try to look her up sometimes. I remember her first name. I don't know if I ever knew her last name. And I call her Earth Story, like she was from India. Well, I could go on and on about that, but let's get back to the song here. Unknown Legend. She used to work in a diner, never saw a woman look finer. So it gets to, I used to order just to watch her float across the floor. So it's like, even though I was going to maybe be late to my next pickup, I'd still go pick her up. And I guess there were other times when I may have like tried to go places where I was hoping to see someone, and she grew up in a small town, never put her roots down. Daddy always kept moving, And she did too. So she did too. So it says she grew up in a small town, but Daddy always kept moving. I think that can be interpreted in a couple different ways. Let's move on. Somewhere on a desert highway, she rides a Harley Davidson, her long blonde hair flying in the wind. You can just like picture her, can't we? It's like the Harley Davidson's kind of like the Rebels motorcycle, I guess yeah. So anyways, she's been running half her life. The chrome and steel she rides, colliding with the very air she breathes. The air she breathes. So what's she running from? What's she been running from? If she's been running half her life, what is she running from? Are you running from something? So I'm reading this stuff like, how does this affect us? Why is that such an awesome song? Why we love the sound of it. So even if he was just like humming or something, I think I'd still really like that song, even if it didn't have the words. But these words are really cool too. And I play it on guitar. I almost played it on guitar for the show, but I'm working on my singing, and there's something about just singing that's kind of like, I don't know. Where are we? So what's she running from? Running half her life. That means half the time she's not running. Or what? And what is she running from? Okay. The chrome and steel she rides, colliding with the very air she breathes. I don't ride motorcycles myself. I remember taking turns on my buddy's moped when I was in, I guess it'd be like junior high, something like that. And it was a moped, but we would ride it like it was a dirt bike. And we'd like just rip through these trails and stuff. And it was like fun, but my sister was in a real bad motorcycle accident. I think she was like 16 years old, something like that. And I remember my dad taking me to the hospital to see her, and he said to her, he's like, "Do you know who this is?" And she looked at me and she didn't know. And he said, "It's your brother." And she said, "My brother?" So she bonked her head pretty good, and she recovered from it. She's cool now, but it was pretty scary. That's burned into my mind. So even though I could see myself definitely having a motorcycle, like I don't want to get one. My son rides one. It's kind of cool and it's kind of scary. It's kind of cool and it's very scary. The chrome and steel shards colliding with the very air she breathes, the air she breathes. So let's look at that. So she's riding, and you're tearing through the wind. Obviously, you're tearing through the air, and that air is coming at you fast. It's like it's almost like a supercharger on a car, isn't it? Like you get this forced air. Like what does that do to your body? Just like get this, gives you like more power, right? So it's like just air forcing down through your nose and mouth. You're just gives you more power. There's vulnerability in that power too, right? You know it ain't easy. You got to hold on. She was an unknown legend in her time. Now she's dressing two kids, looking for a magic kiss. She gets the faraway look in her eyes. So your life is probably pretty easy, right? Everything going smooth, no problems. Everybody's healthy, plenty of money, no problems. Nobody bothers you. No, of course not, right? So it's not easy. You got to hold on. She was an unknown legend in her time. So what makes her a legend? What makes her this unknown legend? So you can imagine this woman, like she rides her Harley to the diner and she works there. So she's this, you don't often think of, well, I shouldn't say you don't often think, but it's often not. It's not really something people strive for, is it? They don't like grow up thinking, oh, I want to work at a diner. But it's these kind of jobs that a lot of people end up in. And imagine, it's like my daughter right now, she works at, it's not quite a diner, it's kind of a diner sort of a place. And she's pregnant. I think just like almost a couple months along now. She's heard the heartbeat and she's still not talking to me for some mysterious reason. I don't know why. But you can imagine like these, like maybe it's the waitress at the bar you go to, or the bartender, or the woman that gives you the coffee in the morning, or I guess if you're a woman listening to the show, maybe there's some hot dude giving you your coffee or bringing you your muffin or whatever. Or checking you out at the grocery store. But somewhere in this, probably at a job that's not their ideal. How do they end up there? And there's nothing wrong with these kinds of jobs. We all do what we do. Now she's dressing two kids. Okay. Looking for a magic kiss. So it sounds like she's by herself, right? Doing what she has to do to raise these kids. And a lot of moms do it alone. I've known some dads that did it alone. My buddy Ron, well, I don't want to tell his story exactly on the air, but it's pretty crazy what happened and how he stepped up to raise his son by himself. And for some reason, the mom doesn't want to be involved. And she had another son. I probably shouldn't say too much about that, but so she's looking for magic kiss. She's alone, right? She's wanting this magic back in her life and this magic kiss. There's this girl, I've talked about her on the show a bunch of times. I've described her as friend that was more than a friend, and maybe she'll be more than a friend again. And probably not, but maybe who? I mean, we make plans and then don't follow through, and but I remember the first time we kissed. It was the first time we hung out. Just me and her. I went to her. I told some of the story on the show last time. But it was like, I guess it was kind of like one of those magic ones. It was one, I won't say kind of like it was. I went to her yoga class, and then we kind of knew of each other for a long time. She was a friend of ex-girlfriend of mine. And after the class that I went to of her, she sent me a message, asked me what I thought about it, and I told her I really liked it. And we get to talk, and she says that she'd like to talk to me about this stuff in person. And then we met for dinner the next day. And ended up going to her place to hang out, and ended up, like, we were talking, and she just said, I was in the middle of sentence blabbing on about something. I'd been into her for a while, and turned out she'd been into me for a while too, since the first time we really saw each other, actually, which we found out. And so I was in the middle of a sentence, and she was like, "Can I kiss you?" I said, so I just went right over to her, and I'd put it in one of those magic ones, in those magic categories, in the magic category. Anyways, back to the song. She gets the faraway look in her eyes. So what's the faraway look? All right, well, we all know what it is, the 1,000-yard stare, or whatever we want to call it, right? And it's like looking and off in the distance and thinking, and you're not quite where you are standing. So it's like you're in the moment with yourself, but not really your surroundings. And then the song goes back to somewhere on a desert highway. The unknown legend. So it sounds like this woman didn't meet her potential. And what happened with him? So he's writing this song. I used to order just to watch her float across the floor. So he's into her. But what happens? We don't know what happens. What happened to Neil Young? Tell us. Did you get the girl? Did you give her that magic kiss? What happened? sometimes it's tough to start something new, isn't it? So I had like a metaphorical moment earlier today. So I'm doing like several little things to my a Jeep Cherokee. I have a '91 Jeep Cherokee, and so there's a few little things I'm trying to do to it. It still runs good. It's starting to run. It started to run a little bit hot. The temperature gauge would creep up and go back down. So I'm just driving my other car while I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. The brake lights quit working. I'm trying to figure out like why aren't the brakes working? Brake lights working. I get a new brake light switch. It doesn't work. The reverse lights weren't working, and then they came on, and then now they don't. And I'm trying to find the fuse, and it's like this thing on the Jeep forum. Where is the fuse? I'm looking under the hood. I'm looking under the dashboard. Where's the fuse? What's the problem? It's probably some loose connection. Where could the loose connection be? Maybe it's a ground wire under. It's like it could be like all these things. Literally from the front of the Jeep to the back. There's all sorts of connections and wires and things that could be happening, and fuse boxes, and it's a whole thing. But anyways, yesterday I put on a new upper radiator hose. It started leaking a while back, and I fixed it just by like cutting it and then putting it back on farther, and I was able to drive it. But I put a new one on it because this one was getting old. So I put the new upper one on, but I didn't do the lower one yet because I didn't have time to really bother with draining it all out and stuff. So I got new like radiator caps. Like, okay, could it be the radiator cap? And you can go do a pressure test and stuff. It's like it's a whole thing. So it's cheaper just to get the radiator cap than it is to bother with your pressure test and stuff. So I just got a new one, fine. And then I'm putting the new. I had like a cracked taillight cover. Somebody ran into my Jeep and took off. This was a while back. This was 10 years ago or more. And I just never fixed it. It was just like the very bottom of it. And it also tore off like it has the steel bumper, and then just on the end of it, there's like this plastic rubbery cap thing. And so I ordered new ones of those. It's like something I thought I was going to have to like dig around in a junkyard and then like, but you can just order it. It's really simple. Like the rubber plastic cap on the end of the bumper cost me like $6. And then the taillight cover was like $20 or something. Oh, that's simple. I should have done this a long time ago. So I was putting the new taillight cover on, and it has like it's new, so it has like this seal around the side. And so it's like trying to get it bolted back on. I mean, it wasn't like really hard, but it was like this. It didn't just like fit right back on like the old one. It had to like, with these new seals, you had to like push it down farther and then tighten it up. It's a bit of a, I mean, it wasn't like this really difficult thing or anything, but what I'm trying to say is it didn't go on as easy as the old one. Even though they're the same, it's just this new seal that's had to be compressed a bit. And sometimes when we're starting something new, it's difficult, and we have to like make all these right moves. And I was hoping not to like break like one of the pieces, like the piece that where it like connects. You like, and it went on. It ended up going on fine. There's no problem. But I was just thinking like. At first, I thought it wasn't going to go on because it was like a bit of a process. And there was like one thing that it sits on that I didn't bother taking out because I didn't have to for the old one. I just unbolted it and pulled it off of this thing where you can get hex wrench and loosen the bottom thing that it kind of like has this fork sort of thing that it lets it sit in place. So trying to get that new thing going, it can be tough. It can be like this exciting time when somebody's on your mind for a long time, and then figure out you've been on her mind also. And in that particular case, it's still kind of a mystery. We were just friends, and just friends now, and we hadn't hung out in a while. And so we were in this habit of we were getting I was picking up, we'd either like go out somewhere, or I would bring Carrie out to her place. Maybe she'd come to mine, but like on I think it was like on Tuesdays or Thursdays. And it was almost every week. So maybe we'd go 2 weeks in a row, skip one, another couple weeks in a row, or it's like, but almost every week. And it was me paying every time. So if we went out to eat, I'm paying. If I bring it to her place, I'm paying. And there was one time when I helped her move where she paid. Like I picked up the carry out and she gave me the money when I got there, and I accepted it. But other than that one time, I paid every time. And we were kind of like, we were seeing each other, and then we were just like friends, and I'm still the one paying, and it got to be kind of, well, I was just kind of like thinking a lot about like boundaries, and I did like a show on boundaries. I don't think I used the word boundaries. It was something else, but you get the idea, right? And so I sent her a message, and I tried to like be kind of like, I didn't want the tone to come off different than what I meant, but I said, uh, can we start splitting this? Like maybe we can like take turns paying or something. And and so this was several months ago now. And she said, like, her message back was like, uh, she's saying like, we get carry out maybe once every other month. I'm like, what? It's like, it's almost every week. And she said, well, maybe it's like every other week. And so it just kind of went sideways, and we haven't hung out since. So I wasn't quite sure how to interpret that, because sometimes we'd hang out and we'd be watching the movie, and she'd be like snuggling up with me on the couch, and then the next time not. And so it was like, I was just trying to like figure something out, and I'm not somebody that like tries to really date a lot. So I was like, okay, if this thing's just kind of like going, if we're figuring it out, then cool. I don't have to like try to see someone else just to have something going on faster or whatever. I was like, okay, if we're, it's kind of a mystery what happened. So, but nothing's going on now. We talk about hanging out and then don't. So the unknown legend, someone that's also, this is like someone who, okay, I was just thinking, okay, was she not living up to her potential? It's like she's wanting more out of her life than what she's getting. What are you? Are you working somewhere where you feel like you have to? Are you, what are you doing just because you think you have to? And is it because you have kids? Like, well, I have kids, so I have to do this. Because I've been there. I've been there, and I wouldn't trade having my kids for anything. But part of it's just like the story was telling myself. Because I was, I'm paying child support, and I wasn't making very much money. Often didn't have like a real nice car, and I was always trying to see my kids. There was never any time when I was trying to avoid them. I was always really looking forward to getting to be with them and pick them up on the weekend and go to a movie and go to the woods and watch movies and hang out and play and do stuff. And there was like this kind of like recurring theme back then of me not having very much money and not doing exactly what I wanted to do for a living. So I started out as a trainer in 1999, and that's like my dream job. That's like all I've ever wanted to do since I was a kid, pretty much. And so I was 20 years old and doing it. And I ended up quitting doing that. I didn't like the way the business was. I didn't like what I perceived that you had to do to be successful, which was pretty much I couldn't be myself. I didn't think I could be myself. It's like a lot of the most successful training places that I saw, I thought were like mediocre or less. And so I remember quitting my dream job and starting to sell lawn care instead. I couldn't care less about lawn care. I thought it was crazy to put these chemicals on your lawn. And then I just trained people like friends and friends of friends out of my garage or out in my backyard and different places over time. And just like a little over 4 years ago, I decided, okay, I'm going to get back into it. And it's been amazing since then. But the fulfilling your potential, and maybe sometimes we can kind of, we love our kids, but they bring us a challenge that both makes us stronger, but we can resent them a little bit. I'm going to hit pause for a second. My Sage bundle is going berserk here. Okay, I'm back. Before I start recording, I always burn some sage and light some incense. And the incense that I burned today, it's like, I don't know if, I know most people just listen to the show, but you YouTube viewers can see. It's like this, it's kind of like it's a rope. It's this Indian stuff. And you burn this little rope, and it has the sandalwood and different stuff in it, a bunch of different herbs and whatever. I burn the sage, these sage bundles. And so I thought it went out. It was like getting pretty smoky in here. And I looked over earlier, and it looked like it was out. I didn't see smoke coming off of it, but the room just keeps getting smokier and smokier. And so I looked over, and it was still smoldering. I burned 2 different ones. And the one that kept smoking and smoldering was from the girl that I was talking about before, so I was just talking about. And it's like nothing is just what it is to me. Everything has like these deeper and deeper meanings. Everything's like symbolic of something else. I just can't help it. But I've had a hard time turning that one off a lot of times. So it's like these sage bundles, and I have this other one. It goes out. I light it for a little bit. It just goes out on its own. And it was from another friend of mine who I kind of dated for a little bit, sort of, kind of. But it was like, different. And although some similarities. This other one from her, like I'd almost kind of like forget about it for a little while, but it would still be smoldering. And so just now I went to like put it out, and it probably has like one more light left on it. And it was almost just, I was just going to let it burn completely out. I went and put it in the bathroom. I put it in a bowl and put it in the bathroom, closed the door, and I was like, I'll just let it have the windows open. And it looked like it was just about to be completely done. But then I went ahead and ran some water over it, put it out to get another little light out of it later on. You know what I'm talking about? You following me with this metaphorical thing here? Sometimes things aren't really what we want. We're projecting characteristics the way we hope it would be. But a lot of times I think when we get honest with ourselves, we don't really want it to be like that. We just wish something was like that. So it wasn't like I'm just hoping things work out with her. It's more like wanting that magic thing to be realized again. If I had to guess, it'll be somebody that I haven't even met yet. But this unfulfilled potential. And I like the way Jordan Peterson talks about the potential. It's like, so somebody tells you you're not living up to your potential, it's not an insult. It's a compliment. They know that you have something in you that hasn't been realized yet. Like this future self, this potential future self is a reality. It can be. And sometimes we get bogged down by our own habits, our own self. Like people say they don't have any money, but they smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. They they spend too much money going out to the bars. They blame things on having kids that are expensive, and it's not easy, is it? But the challenges are good. They make us stronger anyway. So these realities, I don't know if the microphone is picking it up or not, but since this room was so smoky, I opened my windows. I almost started the recording with my windows open, but I always like close the windows because, cars going by or somebody honking the horn or something. But I was like, I've been wanting to have the windows open. I don't know if like it's picking up like the crickets or the whatever nighttime bug noises there are. And get the little breeze blowing through here. So hopefully it doesn't make it sound bad on the recording. I don't think it'll even pick it up probably. But so are you living up to your potential? What do you want to do that you're not doing? And what do you have to do to make that happen? So I have a gym partnered with Valery Fedorenko, legendary kettlebell lifter and really good guy. And my buddy Chris Adkins just started training out of our gym. Started seeing clients there last week. It's really cool. And we have Valery and I have some really big things coming up in the future where there's all kinds of things happening. And same thing with Chris. We're figuring out how we can make the gym better, what we can do for each other. And I don't know if I should be talking about it on the show yet or not, but I was asked, and two other of my friends were asked to come up with a program for White Pine Wilderness Academy. It's part of the Southeast curriculum. So it's like fitness and movement and play, like strength. And it's like, I don't want to say too much about it because we're still in the planning stages, but I've had 3 meetings now, one with each of the other instructors and then one with all of us together. And it's going to be awesome. I get to plan with 2 friends that I really respect, my friend Joey and and Richie, and then Matt is helping too with his vision of what he wants and what we can do, and it's going to be amazing. It's such a cool thing to be a part of, and we have to take these chances. It's like when we have kids, and like the unknown legend, she's working at this diner and waiting for the magic kiss, and she's dressing 2 kids, and she's and then she gets this time on her Harley. If I can recommend doing something, it's just take the steps to do what you want to do and make things happen, and reach out to people. Reach out, because people want to connect. And some people, like for instance, like a simple example is like we met at White Pine yesterday, and like my buddy Joey, like asked me what I was doing. So that night later on, I was like, oh, I'm watching the UFC or something. And he goes, oh, you're getting UFC, and it's like, oh yeah, it's on ESPN Plus. It's like and for some reason I didn't ask him to come over. I don't even know why. And then later he asked me, sent me a message asking if he could come over. I'm like, oh sure, come on over. So I don't. After we left from the meeting, I was like, oh, I should have asked him to come over. Because he like it was Donald Cerrone fighting. He was like, oh, I like watching Donald fight, but it was like just this mental slip of mine or whatever. Like, well, and I left and I was like, oh, I should have asked him to come over and watch it. But I didn't, and for no reason. And then so when he sent me the message later asking if he could come by, I was like, oh yeah, of course. So we watched UFC, and then there was a boxing match afterwards, and watched it and hung out and talked, and I think I need to get better at like some social stuff. 'Cause there's like some stuff that I just miss, and I think kind of a lot of people are like that. So if it seems like, I mean, if you just like want to ask somebody to do something, just ask. This unfulfilled potential. It's like part of it. Like I've spent a lot of time by myself, and it almost becomes a habit. So I try to do more and connect with people, send these messages, and like I got a lot of feedback on the last show. I sang the song "What's Up" by Four Non Blondes, and so I was getting some messages about it, and one of them was from a friend's wife. She's like, "Oh, thanks. Now I got that song in my head all day," and so we messaged back and forth a couple times, and she said that you and I don't know if I should mention the names or not. I'm always like wondering if I should mention these people, but basically she was saying, "Oh, I should hang out with her husband," and so it's like he's been to my classes. He's taken. It's been a long time. It's been years, and brought his son to my class, and so I know them, and but never actually hung out other than that. But we've been meaning to, and so his wife sends me the message, and she's like, "Oh, you should hang out with him," and like, "Yeah, I keep meaning to," and like this time keeps going, and it goes so fast. It seems like it just goes faster and faster. And we want to connect, and for whatever reason, we miss out. So, got to make it a priority to get this time in, because we don't want to look back. And because I look back and I wish I would have done some things differently. But maybe, well, whatever I've done up to this point put me here, and I'm in a really good spot. I mean, I couldn't imagine before owning a gym with Valery Fedorenko. He's like a kettlebell hero of mine. And then I've known Chris Atkins for like 4 years, training out of the same gym and being partnered up with him. So like we each have our own thing. He just does his own, has his clients, does whatever he wants at the gym. And then we're seeing what we can do together too, and hang out more and connect more. so much of our time is spent on like social media. It's like we want to connect with people, and sometimes it comes out. Some people. To me, it's like Facebook more than Instagram, but like Facebook, like people are more inclined to argue about stuff, and then Instagram to me seems like a more positive thing. It's like sometimes I'll have the TV on, like, oh, I'm going to watch Seinfeld, and I don't want to mess with my phone, and then I find myself messing with my phone, and I'm checking up on what people are doing on Instagram, and I may like check in on this dating site that I'm on, Bumble, it's like I'll click on it. I'll click on it right now, and so okay, um, so I got a message. So like on this one's Bumble, you swipe if there's a connection, then the woman has to send the first message, and then you have 24 hours to respond. She has 24 hours after you match to send a message, and then you have 24 hours to respond, or it unmatches you unless you pay for the service. So I get this message. This was earlier today. It says, "Hi there. Well, that'll get you thinking, won't it?" So sometimes I respond to the people that send me messages, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes there's no match. Sometimes there's, yeah, it's weird. It's kind of weird, but you got to keep trying. It can be easy just to like get in the habit of being alone. Anyways, let's I'm going to read some Khalil Gibran. Okay, I just flipped to this page, some other pages too, but I just got to this one. So I don't know what this is going to be yet, but I saw the title. I was going to start with this other book. It has a bunch of short ones, like, I don't know what they're called, but the book was called Sand and Foam by Khalil Gibran. This is The Madman, His Parables and Poems, Khalil Gibran. The Great Longing, and I do not believe I've read this before. The Great Longing. Here I sit between my brother, the mountain, and my sister, the sea. We three are one in loneliness, and the love that binds us together is deep and strong and strange. Nay, it is deeper than my sister's depth and stronger than my brother's strength and stranger than the strangeness of my madness. Eons upon eons have passed since the first gray dawn made us visible to one another, and though we have seen the birth and the fullness and the death of many worlds, we are still eager and young. We are young and eager, and yet we are mateless and unvisited, and though we lie in unbroken half embrace, we are uncomforted. And what comfort is there for controlled desire and unspent passion? Whence shall come the flaming God to warm my sister's bed? And what she torrent shall quench my brother's fire? And who is the woman that shall command my heart? In the stillness of the night, my sister murmurs in her sleep the fire god's unknown name, and my brother calls afar upon the cool and distant goddess, but upon whom I call in my sleep I know not. Here I sit between my brother mountain and my sister the sea. We three are one in loneliness, and the love that binds us together is deep and strong and strange. Well, yeah, that's what I was talking about, right? Some people, they just want to like give up because it's hard. It ain't easy. You've got to hold on. It's like the song says, right? There's this really cool, this cool isn't even the right word. There's this amazing martial arts teacher, and he's more than a martial arts teacher. I wish I could remember his name, but his school, I think it's in Detroit. It's called like the Cave of Adullam or something like that. But it's this, he, I guess you could say, focuses on the black youth, and like I've seen I've seen some of his videos, just incredibly powerful stuff. Where, like one of them that I saw, so like this young boy, he's 8 years old, white belt, and he's taking his test, and this test has physical tests, spiritual tests, and part of the test is for him. So like when he's testing these young men, part of the kid's test is to get on the back of their dad and then their dad does push-ups, as many as he can and more. He does as many as he can, and sometimes they're just like yell, like just like trying, twitching, getting one more, and the teacher's like, "Come on, you got to do it. You got to go. One more. Let's do it." And then when the dad is struggling, his back's contorting, and then the teacher will go up and help lift him all up. You've got to see it. You have to see it. I'll see if I can look at the find the YouTube channel, because it's like, let me look at this real quick. And I got it right here because I sent it to a couple buddies. I've seen it a long time ago, and then I'm not going to exactly say why. So the YouTube channel is Cave 313. Cave 313. So this teacher, or this one student, it's really more than one of them, but this one 8-year-old, his real dad isn't present. That's what it just says. So it sounds like his real dad is not really in his life. Sounds like he's still alive, but not present. And so like the teacher, it's time. It's the part of the test where his dad is supposed to be there doing push-ups with him on his back. And think about that. Again, part of your test is to get on your dad's back while he does push-ups. So you can know that like he'll be strong for you and he'll be there for you, and you're not alone, and his dad's not there. And so his stepdad is there, uncle's there, brother's there, his spiritual brothers are there, his other students at the class. And they all do the push-ups with him on his back. And then that's part of the test, his test. And there's another one where the real dad does show up. And there's other men there too. And it seems like for a lot of the time, the real dad hasn't been in his life. That's what it seems like. That's what it's the gist of it. Because the teacher's saying, like, these other men stepped up in your absence. So you don't know whether he was in jail. You don't know whether he just wasn't around. He's doing this thing, whatever, but he wasn't in the kid's life. But he's there that day. He's there then. And so the kids, he goes on the different men's backs while they're doing the push-ups. And his biological dad is the last in the line. And so he's doing his push-ups, and the teacher's like, he's like, talk to your son, tell him. And then, so he's like saying what he has to say, and he's like, I love you. And he's like, come on, tell me what you think. And he's doing these push-ups, and he's trying, and he's like, keep going. And he's like, get to where it can contort and stuff. And the teacher's hard on him, on the dad. And then he helps him too. He helps lift him up. Then that part's over. The push-ups are over. And then he tells the dad to sit up in front of him, and tells the student to get behind him. The teacher tells, so the teacher is in between the dad and his son. And the teacher says, he goes, okay, I'm Satan. I'm going to keep you from your family. You have to get past me. And so he's like, he motions for the kid's mom to come over and sit by her son behind him. And then he motions for the boy's sister. Like, come up, this little girl, she looks like she's 5 years old. She comes up and she sits beside him. So it's the student. He's still a white belt. He's like getting his initiation, getting his test. His sister and his mom. And the teacher is between them, and he's facing the dad. And he's like, I'm Satan. You have to get past me to get to them. So he shakes his hand. He's like, come on. And so you see the dad like try to get past, and the teacher wrestles him down and pushes him away. He goes, sit back, sit back. And then he's talking to him. He's like, it's going to be easy. He's like, Satan's going to try to keep you away. He's like, come. And he shakes his hand again. He's like, come on. And then you see him, you see the dad putting more spirit into it, more spirit into the fight. Like slaps his arm away. He's pushing, and he's like grunting and trying to like wrestle the teacher who is playing the role of Satan. This man, oh my God. So when the guy shows enough spirit, the teacher lets him like do this like little spin move, and then he like lands like hugging his son. That's the end of the video. The teacher, of course, let him by. The teacher's tough guy, knows how to fight. He could have kept him back, but once the dad showed enough spirit, he let him by. It's hard to say I want to be a teacher like that. It's a different situation than I am. I'm a white guy in the middle of Indiana. He's a black guy. I'm pretty sure it's Detroit. And, he's trying to like raise these young black kids to be good men. And he's trying to teach the dads at the same time. He's trying to like show them that, okay, even if you don't have your dad in your life, you have your, these other men. Okay. Your uncle's here. Okay. Or like your spiritual brothers that you know from your class. So it's like, I'm not him, but I'm trying to like learn from him. Like, how can I be that great of a teacher? And you can't fake it. So it's not like I can just be like, oh, I'll just do that. I'll just take that move and I'll do that. And then I'm going to be like this man. If it were only that easy. Well, I'm figuring it out, you know, because when you're a teacher, you got to be true to yourself. And so I'm trying to learn from him. And of course, I never met him or anything. I believe I did send him a message to be on the podcast a long time ago, or maybe maybe it was so long ago I just commented and said something on this, but I didn't get any response or, which, you know, whatever. I don't know if he ever even got the message, or maybe I didn't even send the message. I don't remember. Well, what can you do to be? Is there a way to fulfill your potential? And it's going to take some kind of focus. We all have to be like a generalist in some ways, but then to have something that we're an expert at. Okay, so you're probably not going to fulfill your potential as a tennis player, a basketball player, a football player, and then rugby, and then golf, and uh, Super Mario Brothers, and uh, be the best cartwheelist ever, and guitar player, and cello player, and bass player, and drum player. So it's like, okay, you're not going to fulfill your potential at every single thing that there could possibly be. But what's your thing? Like what can you become excellent at? And what kind of part can you play in someone's life? And so even if you don't get past the diner in your career, what can you be to your kids? And can you be someone else's magic kiss? Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.